This is the crown jewel, Mr. Good as Gold. This is Connor Hopkins.
I am Eric S. Knight.
And I'm a league champion.
And we are the chosen prodigal sons, and this is the Shotgun Wrestling Radio podcast.
What's up, everybody? It's Leon King here, of course, the baddest of the baddest, and you are now listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is Gavin Parker, and you're listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is the mechanic Big Beasley, and you are listening to Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
This is your deathmatch daddy Bo guy, and you're watching Shotgun Wrestling Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Shotgun Wrestling Radio. I'm your host, Zach Takis, and tonight we are heading to Grinnell, Iowa for this weekend's big Eminent Wrestling Alliance show as Eminent Wrestling invades Grinnell, Iowa, Saturday evening. Bell time is at 7 p.m. I believe doors are 6 or 6:30, I want to say, but either way, be there by 7 o'clock and you'll be good to go. We have a jam-packed action planned for you here with Eminent Wrestling Alliance, including the man I'm about to talk to, man who's here with me right now, the one and only one half of the EWA Tag Team Champions, Mr. DeanWilson, who will be defending those Tag Team Champions with his tag team partner, Austin Fouts, in a chaotic ladder match this coming Saturday night, as we have the team of Supernova going up against you guys, the Jets, and going up against a new team that has not really, made a mark for themselves yet, but look to here this coming Saturday, the Bulldogs, and we have Mad Dog McDowell and the big bad bull himself, Angus Kaiser, colliding for a ladder match. And man, Mr. DeanWilson, welcome to the show, man. It's an exciting time to have you on, man.
Thank you, Mr. Takis. It's a pleasure to be here.
And, before we get started about Saturday night, Saturday is going to be a big-time show again, Grinnell, Iowa.
Yes, it is.
It looks like an absolutely stacked card from what EWA managements have been able to put together. But before we get really heavy into that, let's talk more about kind of you and kind of learn a little bit about you. And I'm going to ask what I ask everybody who's ever listened to an episode of Shotgun Wrestling Radio, man. How did you get into being a pro wrestling fan, and what led you to being a pro wrestler?
All right, so let me break it down for you, Takis. Anybody that has really known everybody's favorite loudmouth for any decent period of time will tell you that I have a bit of a flair for the dramatic. I like the spotlight. I like the attention. I'm a little bit of an attention hog. I got a big mouth and I like to use it. So I was 11 years old at a Super Bowl party with my buddies from school, and they told me that during halftime we were going to watch the match. And I had absolutely no idea what they were talking about. And I'm like, match? Like what? Like, what do you mean? Like it's the Super Bowl. Like it's a football game. Like, no, man, the wrestling match. And I'm like, the what? Like, I don't know what this is. So halftime comes around. We switch channels. And I am introduced to the absolute wonder that is pro wrestling when I watch The Rock and Mankind, halftime heat, 1999, empty arena match for the WF Championship. I had no idea what I was looking at. All I knew was it was phenomenal, and I was absolutely hooked, and I have been a diehard pro wrestling fan ever since.
That is an absolutely hell of a introduction there for your first time wrestling, watching the empty arena match between The Rock and Mankind. And I remember that one, and that was one of those kind of moments where you'll, especially as a kid, you'll never forget, just because again it's an iconic match, and that happened during the halftime of the Super Bowl is pretty insane. And at one point though, for you, wouldn't you finally decide, I think I can do this, I think I want to give this a go, and kind of what led you to the Forge Wrestling Academy?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I was hooked from the first minute, and I couldn't get enough. I found out that this was a regular thing, and this was on TV every week. Like, I was hooked. Like, I was tuning in every Monday. Like, I started watching when SmackDown started up. Like, I remember when SmackDown first started up, and started watching like the early years of SmackDown. Like, I was absolutely hooked, and always thought, like, man, this is so cool. Like, this is what I want to do. However, when you got a dream, you're always going to have haters, and you're always going to have those people that try to knock you down. So I was all about like, man, like I want to do this. Like, this is awesome. And had person after person after person be like, oh, that's a cute story. Like, that's funny. You know, like, but come on, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. Like, it won't happen. Like, you can't do that. And, you know, I was just like, you know what? I don't like that. That doesn't sit well with me. I'm not going to sit here and listen to people telling me what I can and can't do. Like, I'm going to do it. Like, I don't know how, I don't know when, but someday I'm going to figure out a way to do this. And it was about a little over a year ago, just happened to be scrolling through Facebook one day, and I saw an ad for this thing called the Forge Pro Wrestling Academy and how they were getting ready to start a training class here soon. And this is where I got to give credit to my wife, who was absolutely amazing. Like, I sent her the Facebook post just as kind of a half as a joke, but just kind of, you know, like, hey, what would you think if I did this? And she's like, I think you should do it. And I'm kind of like, are you serious? And she's like, absolutely. She's like, this has been your dream since you were a kid. Like, you talk about this all the time about how, you know, you want to, like, you would love to be able to try this. She's like, it's close to home. It's reasonably priced. She goes, it doesn't interfere with anything else you got going on. She goes, if you don't do it, it's like, it might not be right away, but at some point you're going to regret and wish that you had done it if you don't do it. She's like, I think you need to do it. So I called Mr. Austin Fouts to get a little more information, kind of figure out how this whole thing went about, and, you know, talk about, you know, the different pricing options, and gave me all the rundown. And it just felt right, you know, like, it just felt like everything was stacking up perfectly, and it was just right there. All I had to do was just reach out and take it.
And when you finally made it into the Forge Wrestling Academy, you know, you're done with your first day of warm-ups. I know that they have you do your squats and they make you run. And when they finally teach you to take that back bump, that first back bump, do you remember what was going through your head? Because I know everybody feels a little bit differently. Because for people that don't know, the wrestling ring is not a trampoline, believe it or not.
No, it is not. So, yeah. So, I mean, I had the privilege of being the first class of the Forge to be trained under All Steel Jay Fowler. And let me just say this about Jay Fowler. That man takes training very seriously. Like, it is not a joke. Like, before we were even allowed to touch the ring, we were busting out. I think first week was maybe like 150 squats, like 75 push-ups, like a full cardio workout before we were even allowed to touch the ring. And, you know, I'm not going to share any names, but we had a particular person in class that was over in the corner about 10 minutes in, puking his guts out. You know, we got guys over here struggling, like we're all just sweating to death, and we haven't even touched the ring yet. And I'm just thinking, like, you know, I'm kind of thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm 35, like, I'm too old for this. But then I got to think, well, you know, good old DDP was 35 when he started training, and look what he did. Like, if he can do it, I can do it. You know, but yeah, so then getting in and taking that first bump, like, you know, like, you watch on TV and you think that ring looks pretty bouncy and looks like it has a lot of give, but then you step in there and you feel that it's really more solid. And you're kind of like, oh, like, this doesn't really seem like what you watch at all, you know. And then you hit the ropes that first time and it just cracks your whole back, and you're like, oh, that's different. And then you take that first bump and it's basically falling on a deck, like flat on your back. And it's like, oh, that is different. Like, oh, I don't know. But then, you know, you keep doing it and you keep doing it, and your body starts to build up that tolerance. And then before you know it, it's like riding a bike and you just do it.
That's what I always love about that first training story, because yeah, everybody kind of has the same reaction, but it's always fun to hear everybody. I mean, you have those rare people that kind of say, "Yeah, it felt natural to me," yada yada yada, and but yeah, it's always just fun to hear those kind of stories from the training days of what you guys were going through. And now, how long after you started training was it before you had your first match? Like, in front of people, I mean, like, 'cause
So
obviously you guys did practice run-throughs at the forge there, but, like, how long
yeah,
before you actually got in front of people?
yeah. So training ran from about the end of March to the beginning of August of last year. And then, we had graduation matches in front of, like some other veterans and promoters from the area and got feedback, and then we're told whether or not we're allowed to start working shows. And, I was fortunate enough to get the green light. So started talking things out with Austin, kind of getting a plan for what we were going to do, and did a couple smaller things to start out, just kind of getting my name out there, like getting my face in front of crowds. And I think it was probably about, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 weeks after training that I had my first match in front of a crowd.
And for you, when you finally got into that first crowd reaction, what was it like actually being in front of, that first crowd? Were there a lot of nerves for you? Like, "Oh, shit, this is finally happening, here I am in front of people that I have to either make cheer me or make boo me," like.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, like leading in, like I was just a absolute ball of energy. I'm like, all right, here we go. Like this is like, like the boyhood dreams about to become reality. Like here we go. And then I'm standing at that curtain ready to come out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, like this is happening. Like, oh, this is real. Like, what am I doing here? Like, can I really do this? Like, do I really know what I'm doing? And then I came through the crowd, or I came through that curtain and hearing that crowd reaction, and it just, nerves were just gone. And it was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is it. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been putting in all that time and hard work and sweat and tears for. Like this is it. Like this is what I wanted. And 11-year-old me was just screaming his little head off. Like, we did it. We made it. Like, we're here. Like, let's go, baby.
Now, again, now that you've actually had kind of, I guess, a few months experience here with this, which do you feel like you prefer doing the more? 'Cause to me, it feels like you're more of a natural heel just because you can talk, you can like you said, you are a loudmouth, and
Oh
that
yeah.
in a lot of ways that works out great for the heel character. Is that something you prefer over being a baby face? I know, as a baby face, you can sell a lot more merchandise, but if you're a really good
Mm.
heel, they'll buy merch from you too.
I'm just gonna start by saying heels have way more fun. Like I love it. Like I've always, whether it's been on purpose or not, I've always been really good at running my mouth and making people absolutely angry with me to the point that they want to just strangle me. Like, I got to give a lot of credit to my parents, because I put my parents through a lot of crap as a kid. Like, my mouth got me in so much trouble growing up that, like, I feel like being a heel just comes natural, because I just have a natural, I'm going to call it a natural gift to just irritate the living crap out of people. And I think it's hilarious. Like, the more angry somebody is with me, and the more I can tell that I'm getting under the skin, like the more fun it is for me and the more energy it gives me. Like, it's fuel for the fire.
Now, speaking of your parents, have your parents had the opportunity to watch you wrestle since you got into it?
So, so I remember when I told my mom that gonna I was gonna start training, and she thought she's like, oh yeah, that's a funny joke. She's like, that's a good one. Ha ha ha. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, I'm doing it. And she looks at my wife, she's like, he's not serious. Like, this is a joke, right? And she's like, no, he's doing it. And she's like, aren't you a little old? She's like, you're 35. She's like, isn't this more for somebody in like their early 20s? She's like, what if you get hurt? And it's like, okay, but what if I don't? It's like, but what if you do? But what if I don't? But what if you do? Mom, I could get hit by a car crossing the street. I could slip and fall down the stairs when the kids leave a toy on the steps. Like, like why let fear of something that might not even happen stop me from doing something that I've always wanted to do? And she's like, she goes, you don't make points that make a lot of sense a lot of times. She goes, but you actually have a good point this one time. and so I remember I sent her like a link for my first match, and she watched it, and I was like, so what do you think? And she's like, well, it was something. She's like, I think you're crazy. She's like, I think you're absolutely crazy. I don't know how you're doing this. She goes, but you're doing it, and you seem like you're a natural at it. And she came to a show in Tama, and I think she might have been booing me the loudest out of anybody in that building. Like she was sitting front row, and the second I got to her side of the ring, she's up out of her chair and she's thumbs down, like just booing at me. And I'm like, who is this? Like, where did this come from? She's like, well, I've watched your stuff and you're kind of a jerk. She's like, you're kind of a jerk. Like, you're known for being a jerk. And I'm okay, that's fair. Well, like, I'll take it.
Well, and the best part for you is you can yell right back at her, and it's not going to matter because that's your job. That's the best part about it.
I did. I did. I told her to sit down and hush up.
That's awesome.
I was like, this ain't your time, lady. Like, sit down and be quiet. Like, this is my moment. Like, don't ruin it.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
She's gonna be in attendance. She's gonna be in attendance Saturday, and she won't come out and admit it. But knowing what I'm walking into this Saturday, I think she's kind of looking forward to seeing me get the snot beat out of me a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Well, let's go ahead, man, talk right there about it. I'm going to go ahead and run through the card here really quick. And again, as you said, it's a ladder match. It's a triple threat ladder match. The team of Supernova, you and Austin Fouts defending the tag team titles against another team of Mad Dog McDowell and Big Bad Bull himself, Angus Kaiser. We also have Big Beasley versus Bo Gott. I hope Beasley's ready for that one because Bo can hit harder than a mother effer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Jacob Erickson versus Colin Anthony. Sage Hale versus Briar Hale. A match of the year candidate. I'm already calling it a match of the year candidate potential. Gavin Parker versus Jimmy Wild. That one should be absolutely insane. Adam Love versus AJ O'Callahan. Wes Wakefield versus Theron Edwards. And Reginald Paul Gray is defending the EWA Championship against an unknown. So it could be anybody past or present getting a title shot here for Mr. Paul Gray's Eminent Wrestling Alliance heavyweight title here this Saturday. But again, man, ladder match for you. Did you grow? I'm sure, again, as a kid, the era that you started watching, we had the Hardys, we had Edge and Christian, we had the Dudley Boys. Again, I'm about 2 years older than you, so I'm right there in that era with you. And we just had the slew of some of the greatest tag teams, and not only just tag teams, but tag team ladder matches in that time that we had growing up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you have any?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what kind of game EWA management is playing right now, but I don't know how I feel about it. Like, it doesn't sit right with me. Like this is the first title defense for Austin and I, and we have to defend it against not one but two teams, and in a ladder match. Does management just have it out for us? Like, I don't know. But I mean, and then looking at the teams that are in it with us, I mean, you got Angus Kaiser, who is just an absolute brute. Like, I've been in the ring with Angus a couple of times, and that man has some very big hands. And when he chops you in the chest, like, you feel it 3 days later still, like, that man is no slouch. And Mad Dog McDowell, like, he has been doing this a long time. And, they put on a pretty good showing as a team the last time we were in Grinnell. And then Supernova. Love Supernova. Like, consider them friends. Like, Cal Cassidy, Blake Bannon, like, I consider them to be good friends of mine. I know you're high on them. I know you're a big Supernova fan, Zach.
Yep.
But, and I know Supernova just lost the Rugged Pro tag titles here a couple weeks ago back at Rugged Mania to the Crucible in what was an absolutely brutal street fight. And I know they're feeling a little title hungry, but boys, this ain't the title for you. Like, I love you guys. Like, we're boys, but guys, this ain't the one for you. And just looking at, again, going back to Angus and Mad Dog, like, those aren't small boys. Like, both of those boys got them. And not trying to, like, body shame or anything, but is there a ladder even strong enough to hold that much man meat? Like, come on.
Well, and I tell you, I see there in the corner of your shot here. Let's kind of show people what it is, man. Like, give us a closer look of what you guys are fighting for this coming Saturday in Grinnell. Again, for more information on tickets, head over to Eminent Wrestling Alliance Facebook page, and there it is, folks. The EWA Tag Team titles being defended in a ladder match. Woo. And again, that's just some of the action that's going down here this coming Saturday night in Grinnell, Iowa, at I think it's the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken, is what the name of the event is.
Eagles Club. Yep.
The Grinnell Eagles Club. Doors open at 6:30. Bell time is at 7 p.m. $5 advance tickets, $15 the date of. If you head over to Eminent Wrestling Alliance Facebook page, very first post, you'll see a nice match rundown of everything that's going on with a ticket link. So if you want to buy your ticket link early, head over to Eminent Wrestling Alliance Facebook page and get more information over there as well, as it's going to be a
I would advise that if you think you want to go, I would advise buying tickets ahead of time, because the last show we had in Grinnell, like, we actually had to turn people away because we hit capacity. Like, we had such a line that we had to start turning people away at the door, I believe. So if you want to be there Saturday night, and I suggest you all do, because EWA management is very good about putting together some very stacked cards, and they have done it yet again. And I guarantee you, this is not going to be a show that you want to miss. So if you think you want to be there, I would do the smart thing and probably buy your tickets ahead of time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun here this coming Saturday night. I'm excited to be behind the mic calling the action again this coming weekend. So I'm excited. It's been a minute since I've been behind the mic, so I'm excited to get out and call this one. And let's kind of fire away with some more questions here for you. Obviously, you were a fan growing up as a kid. Do you have an all-time favorite match? The one match that, like, say you're in kind of a shitty mood and you're like, you know what, let's go watch this one. This one will put me in, kind of take me back to that time when I was a kid. It just always puts you in a good mood no matter what.
That is, wow. That is a good question. So I guess for a match more that's recent, that is probably, in my mind, one of the greatest matches I think I've ever seen, was that double dog collar match between the Briscoe brothers and FTR. Like, I don't know if you saw that or not, but that was just nonstop intensity the whole time. And just like, that match had me laughing. It had me crying. Like, I was having all the feels watching that one. And that's probably one of the greatest matches I think I've ever watched, like, in the entirety of my being a fan. And then for me, I mean, I was a big Hulkamaniac as a kid. Like, when I came in, like, I got so into it so fast. Like, I wanted to just take everything I could. I went back as far as I could, and I just took in everything. And like I was a big Hulkamaniac. Like Sting was always a big one for me as a kid. But one that probably really, really sticks with me is The Rock and Hollywood Hogan WrestleMania 18. Just, I mean, everything, just the crowd, and like the crowd was just on fire for that match, like nonstop. Like, and it was like, it wasn't one sided, like it was back and forth the whole time. And it just, like that one, that one just completely, like I get sucked into that one every time I watch it. Like that's definitely one at the top for me.
Well, and that one, aside from, Brett versus Austin, and that one's got to be like one of those biggest double turns in history that we've ever seen,
Mhm.
as far as, the which way the crowd was going. And, like for me with that one too, it's like I look back at that WrestleMania pay-per-view, I'm like, I still can't believe they made Jericho and Triple H go on like 2 matches later. Because they had a
Oh
women's
yeah.
match in between, then they had the world title match, and it's like the crowd was just so wiped out from Rock and
Oh,
Hogan. I don't think
absolutely,
I don't
absolutely.
I think Vince and company just underestimated how the crowd was going to react to Hogan and Rock once they finally squared
Oh,
off in the
without a
ring.
doubt, without a doubt. I don't think anybody expected that match to be as big as it was going in. Like, yeah, it had a lot behind it, but I don't think anybody really thought it was going to be as big as it was.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, I remember ordering that pay-per-view. I started ordering WrestleManias. I think my first one was WrestleMania 15. So that was my first one that I ordered, and then I never missed one from there on. And then eventually I added in the Rumble, I added in SummerSlam, and then
Yeah.
Survivor Series. I just would do the big four, and that was it as when I was younger growing up. But yeah, that was definitely something as a kid, just to witness and kind of see Hogan get a rebirth, as you can say. Again, say what you want about the guy, but the dude definitely had the star power and the it factor of
Mhm.
wrestling and what drew at the time. And it was kind of cool to see him get, I guess, kind of one more run in him there. And yeah, just absolutely epic moment. And for you, again, there's a lot of epic moments yet to be happening. Do you have right now, because we see everybody that makes a list, everybody kind of makes a list of who they would love to face right now. Do you have, let's go like a top four. Do you have a top four of dream list opponents that you would love to face, whether it be AEW, WWE, New Japan, wherever it
Ooh.
can be, or even local indies? Because we got a lot of really great
Mm.
talent here in local
Yeah.
Iowa. Like, I haven't seen the one thing I was worried about when the pandemic hit was how wrestling because wrestling pre-pandemic in Iowa was at like its peak. Like, it just
Oh
felt
yeah.
like everything was clicking, everybody was running every weekend. We had so
Oh
many
yeah.
shows. I was a little worried how we would come out of the pandemic that way. Thankfully,
Mhm.
we've all been able to come out of that just fine, and Iowa
Oh
wrestling is
yeah.
thriving. So for you, man, who are some of your top four dream opponents?
Ooh. Wow. Nobody's ever asked me that before. Um.
Again, it can be anywhere. It can be Iowa indie scene. I mean, you've been
Yeah.
able to do a little bit of traveling now, and yeah, anywhere
Oh
you
yeah.
want, man.
Yeah. Uh. Wow. Um. So I guess somebody that's going right, that is really kind of a big inspiration to me, and somebody that I actually had an opportunity to do a seminar with a while back and kind of learn from, was Mike Bennett. Like, I've been a big Mike Bennett fan for a long time, and just think it'd be really cool to be able to step in the ring with Mike, just because he's kind of been a little bit of everywhere and kind of done a little bit of everything, and just, yeah, like somebody of that caliber, and that has, been the places he has and done the things that he has. Like, I think that one would be a lot of fun. Um, Going more local. So here at the last Grinnell show, I had an opportunity to kind of square up with Jamison McGregor, and had some fun with that, and just kind of feel like that could potentially, that I feel like something good could maybe come out of a shot with that. Like a little more time in with him, I think could be pretty good.
Yeah, and again, Jameson's another one of those guys who's, done some TV time here with quite a few companies around the league, and just guy that's able to get back here in the Midwest scene and everything else. So, again, we got a few more minutes here, so I'm gonna do some kind of quick fire questions for you. What is your favorite match that you've been involved in so far?
Ooh, I probably got to say winning the tag titles with Austin Fouts, just because, I mean, if it weren't for Austin Fouts, like, I wouldn't be here right now. Like, Austin took a chance on me and let me into the class, and just really, taking time to really discuss with me like what I wanted to get out of pro wrestling, and kind of like what I wanted to do, and just really helping me figure out like how to go about that and how to get where I want. And then just feeling like he saw enough in me that he was willing to, come alongside me and take me on as a tag partner. Because, I mean, Austin has been a part of some pretty successful tag teams himself in the past. I mean, Flex Appeal was hot for a really long time, Austin and Tyler Jones. And, just Austin being kind of a tag team specialist, like for me, it was kind of an honor just to be able to step into that position with him, and then to win the tag titles in Grinnell, which is, 20 minutes from where I grew up. So I mean, I had a lot of friends and family like in the crowd that night, and I would say at this point that's probably right up there at the top for me.
Now, as you guys are driving from show to show, what do you guys usually listen to? What are you guys listening to? Music, podcasts? What are you guys listening to?
So a lot of times traveling from show to show, it's me and good old Reginald Paul Gray in the car together. And a lot of times we're in Reggie's car, and Reggie is really good about my car, my choice. So I just kind of sit along for the ride and just listen to really kind of whatever Reggie puts on. So,
what's your favorite movie?
And I will say that man has some very, very, very interesting taste when it comes to music.
One last question here before we get kind of rocking and rolling. What's your all-time favorite movie?
Oh, one movie that I will, like if I'm just like flipping through channels, or just come across it, I will always stop for, is good old Sylvester Stallone and Rocky.
There you go. Right
And
on, man.
Like for me, it doesn't, like, it can be any movie in that franchise. Like those are just some of my absolute all-time favorites, just because Rocky was the absolute underdog. Like I just feel like I connect with the character a lot, just with all the people that told me that I couldn't do this, and that this was an unrealistic dream, and just all the people that never really took Rocky seriously either, or didn't really give him a chance, and just seeing him put in the work and put in the time and prove everybody wrong. And that's what I'm trying to do myself. And I just feel like I connect really well with that. So that is something that I will always go to, like when I need that pick me up.
And for people that would like to follow you on your social media accounts, where can people follow you at?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at DeanWilson Pro Wrestler.
There you go. You can catch DeanWilson here this coming Saturday night. Again, tag team triple threat ladder match at the Grinnell Eagles this Saturday night. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Bell time is at 7 p.m. $5 for advance tickets, $15 at the door. For more information, head over to Eminent Wrestling Alliance and buy your tickets early. We hope to see you guys at the show this coming Saturday night. And if we don't see you at the show, we hope we'll see you next time right here on the World Wide Web.